getting married.
Married? To who?
To who? To Alam, the same man I've been with for the last 2 years.
Alam, the Muslim. You're gonna marry him. Baby, I don't like that guy. I'm telling you, he's not right for you at all.
You sound just like Ernest.
Well, that's probably the only thing we see eye to eye on.
Yeah, but neither one of you have had one conversation with him. So it's like a bullshit double standard black man thing.
Look, baby, all I want is what's best for you.
Hey friends, welcome back to Getting Close Up, the show focused on independent artists and creatives. I'm your host, Danielle Cox. My guest today is doing it for themselves and the culture, blasting a door wide open for opportunities in only a way that they can. Today, we are getting close up with Melanna Gray of IndieFEMME Productions. Oh, tongue-tied. How are you doing? Welcome from LA.
Great. Thank you. Thank you for having me. I'm glad we finally made this happen. Thank you.
Yes, because the last time we tried to hook up, the fires were going on.
Yes, the fires, and I lost one of my sons, my blind sister. So it was crazy. I tried to make it happen, but it was too much going on. But we did it. We're doing it now.
I completely understand. Life be life and stuff be stuffing. Okay, that's just how it goes. Especially when you're busy and doing so much that you do. I mentioned that you're in LA now, and you've been an actress for a while, and doing a lot in that realm. Starting out here from Kansas City, though, what was it specifically that made you move to LA? Like, how did that help your career?
Well, I got a full scholarship to USC in track and field, and I majored in theater. And at that time, I left LA, went back to Kansas City, and I was training for the Olympic team. And I made the kind of, it's not the real squad, but it's the practice squad, something like that. It's been so long. And then from that point, I decided to audition for graduate school, and I got into Missouri Rep. And so I studied there for 3 years, and then went to New York and did theater, regional theater, and got my first New York show. And just so happened that my grandmother passed the week we opened, right? So then it's like, okay, my grandfather, who was with a woman taking care of him for 65 years, like, how are we going to do that? So I left New York, went back to Kansas City, and handled elder things, and had some family help, and made sure everybody was taken care of, and then went back to New York, did a little bit of theater, but it was hard to, get things back in order again.
Once you're gone, it's like hard to get back in. But you still have connections,
because once you first go, you're like green, and you can deal with the subways and all those things, and then you're like, look, And then as a Black actress, as you're getting your feet, you end up doing a lot of period pieces. So you can end up playing slaves and things that really are emotionally taxing. So you're like, all right, I want to do something different. Called some folks back in LA and asked, can you get me started in this film industry? And so I got back here and joined forces with my sister, and we've been kind of doing the things ever since.
And that's a lot. Just in a like, that's a lot.
Mouthful, right?
That is so much. And with family and things happening in between that, and I guess it stresses the importance of the impact of you teaming up with your sister, who's the other half of IndieFEMME.
Absolutely. She's, everything. So it's really important to have a good partner and someone that you, there's these little nuances that we will always have. So we're best friends, and we know how to communicate with one another, and we have the same vision as far as the things that we want to put out in the world and what this programming really requires for independent Black female filmmakers.
And you said something really impactful, and I don't want to gloss over it, about some of the initial opportunities that were available to you, being period pieces and having to portray slaves and things like that, which can have a intense emotional impact on you as an actor when you're getting into it. And um, I've seen other people like Issa Rae, for instance, joke about how she did something similar. And it's like she joked about it
Yes.
on her show a few times. Talk to me a little bit about the ways that you had to navigate that space and finding roles for yourself and the things that you had to accept versus what you wanted.
I think in a lot of ways when you're young, and really being from Kansas City and being a little bit sheltered, there's so much that you need to learn about the world because you can't portray any character that you don't really know. So that's one thing. The other thing, that you're always relegated by the industry. So you have to have a strong sense of you, your history, the things that you want to portray, and then how to kind of navigate people who are going to constantly put you in a box. It's not really easy. It's a lot of juggling, and you can only learn by trial and error.
Yeah, I imagine that's probably a huge part of it. Now, you also, I think you're probably the only person I've talked to who's had experience with an agent. Am I right about that?
Yes.
Okay. Talk to me a little bit about that experience. Like seeking that out. Did you have to seek that out? Like how, because I don't think we've talked to anybody yet that's had that particular experience.
I was kind of lucky. After graduate school, you have a showcase. So you go to New York and you perform these scenes in front of an audience of agents and casting directors. And they kind of make notes of who they want to see throughout that week. And so it's always a busy week because it's graduate schools from all over the country come, and you just have your slots. And luckily, I had a few options. I had a few great agents, and they started, pushing me out there. But even your agents are going to try to push you in a box. And when you're young and green, you want to be like, okay, let me just go in the box because I want to work,
affable,
right?
Yeah, it's not pigeonholing yet; it's opportunity.
Right, and it's a balance because it is always both. It is an opportunity, and usually you can take every opportunity and flip it. Every single time you're going to learn something new. You're going to meet someone. Mm-hmm. Something is going to happen if you have a good outlook on it. And then also you have to push back. Like, hey, I had. I'll tell you this one story. It's one of my favorite stories about my agents. They would, pick up the sides and you would, prepare and then go to your audition. Mm-hmm. Well, young green me, I'm extra. I'm doing too much. I'm picking up the sides and it's a lot, right? So finally, I just started picking up the sides last minute, make no big deal about, and I would always get a call back because I wasn't putting too much on it. I was being myself. It was blah, blah, blah. And then this one agent dropped me because he hated that I did that. Okay. So I got this great show, this amazing show. And there was the only Black person in the show and everybody wanted this show. Somehow I got it. Okay. So now they're calling for the understudies for a New York run. And he's calling, he says, Melanna, they want to see you for the understudy for this show. And I was like, oh, they do? Oh, they do? They want a show? They want me? It's my part. They don't want me to understudy for me, right? So it's like, yeah. So those were my favorite little stories about agents, but they will push back. But agents get a bad rap. I think that they deserve their cut. I think when they do their job, they can really push you out there in a way that you really can't yourself.
That's a really interesting perspective on that, because I think a lot of people do assume that like managers and agents and that sort of thing, it's just a Shark Tank type situation. Whereas these people
Mhm.
also have a lot of knowledge and connections. You just got to find the right people. And to your point about your story, kind of learn a game about how to communicate.
Yeah, and you really need somebody that's going to fight for you. You don't need, like, this agent was just trying to get as many women as he could in there, you know, so if he got someone to get the understudy part, he'd get his little cut. Fine. But others are really trying to get you the parts that you deserve. They see something in you that you don't see in yourself, you know, so, you know, good and the bad all the way around.
How important is word of mouth, like talking to other actors about their experience with that?
In New York, it's amazing. Not so much in LA. For some reason, it's, I'm not going to say it's more competitive, because in New York you compete too, but you just want the best person to win. Like, I've had girlfriends who are in my same category, so to speak, and vice versa. We'll share information about a show or something. Come to the audition. Is that at this time? Just put your name down. We'll wait, you know, whatever together. But LA, it's very difficult to get someone to refer you. It's,
yeah, I wonder what that is. Yeah, I've heard stories before, or at least people alluding to that kind of difference between LA and New York. Like,
yeah,
some of them, they don't want to be in New York anymore because of certain things, you know, just about living there that can be difficult.
mm-hmm.
But when they get to LA, they realize the community is not the same.
Right. It is true. I miss New York. I love LA, and I have kind of tribes in both cities, and they're very different, you know, so.
Yeah.
I don't know. There's that thing called the Hollywood yes, you know, whereas New York, they'll be like, nah, I cannot be there. I'm not going to do it. I don't want to do it. LA, yes, I'd love to. Oh, no, I have no idea what happened.
Yeah, to be in that New Yorker identity is more deeply rooted, because like New York has been being New York for a long time. Now I get that, and in that too, when you have these different opportunities presented to you, there's chances for rejection and things like that. And there was in your bio, you guys mentioned how part of the reason why IndieFEMME came together is because of rejection. And you mentioned the programming that you guys want to put together with IndieFEMME Productions. So let's talk about pitching. Okay. Looking at what it is that you guys want to do, much how you were looking at it as an actor, what I want to do, how to get to these opportunities. What have you learned about pitching your ideas?
No one cares.
Was not expecting that. Okay.
No one cares.
Expound.
It is important to have a great pitch, but as technology advances, so many things are at play now. So you can't just go to a production company and try to make a sale. It's not really happening. Just like as an actor, filmmakers have their own agents, and there's a channel on how you go and get those kind of deals. There's different kind of relationships. As far as being independent and looking for a partner, you have to show that you have an audience, right? So a lot of times people say it's not what you know, but who you know. And I say it is what you know. And I don't know that who you know really matters that much, because a good product is a good product, right? So you have to know how to write, how to craft a story. You have to know what kind of story you're going to tell. You have to be able to at least put together part of that story. You have to produce it some sort of way. No one is going to listen to the idea anymore. You have to show it some sort of way.
That's important.
There's AI. There's so many things that you can do. You can use stock footage, but you have to show your idea clearly. And then you have to show that someone else is also interested in it. So you have to show that you're growing some sort of audience in that direction, which is very difficult because so many people spend millions of dollars just to get our attention for something that we're not interested in, right? So it's really hard to get you to focus on something that maybe you have to spend some time with because you'll get to it later, right? So that's kind of why we scroll quick and get to the fluff and then get back to our life. You know what I mean?
It makes me, and I know I've addressed this in different avenues before, different interviews. But yeah, the way the attention span has changed has to probably play a big part in that, because they're not only looking for something that will catch, but do you find that they no longer care about longevity? Like when you're pitching something, they don't really care that, oh, we can stretch this out for multiple seasons, or we can have this be big for this long.
No, I think that matters. No, I think that package absolutely matters. That means that you've thought the whole thing through, you know, how that it can grow and sustain, because I think that is part of that selling point for sure.
Yeah, that process just seems very scary. Like even more scary than putting a song out. You know, because
But you know what? I don't know. Okay, maybe, but I was watching Andrea's episode, and her voice is so perfect. You know, she sings a couple notes. How are you not hooked, you know, immediately, right? So that's the same thing that everyone really has to do. It just so happens that, you know, she's got this amazing instrument, but everyone has to show that some sort of way.
And shout out to Andrea Tribute. It was a great, fun episode. She does have an amazingly beautiful voice. 100%. Getting into there was some amazing insights. I'm still processing a lot of what you said, like honestly, because that was really dope. Talk to me about forming IndieFEMME. Okay, a lot of things happen, going back and forth with your family, decided to team up with your sister, your best friend. What was it about her experience as a filmmaker and your experience as an actress that made you want to push this idea forth?
Well, Sister was out here working for quite some time. She was doing a lot of film work, and she is an amazing writer. I came out thinking that some things would kind of shake out. They didn't shake out exactly the way I thought, but then I got an amazing mentor, Bill Duke. So, and that was because he does every so often, he does an actor's boot camp. And so from the boot camp, I became his assistant and then production coordinator. And he, like, from get-go, he was like, the days of just going to audition and getting work is likely over. Now, you know, there's some people from our camp that did leave and have some beautiful careers right now. So it's not completely true, but he's right in a way where you really, like I said, need to know how to write, how above and below the line positions in film, like what does a grip do? Like I got back here from theater, being this Shakespeare head, and I'm really having to learn, like, okay, so what's the difference between this kind of producer and that kind of producer? And it takes a while because for some reason, no one really wants to give you that information. You know, you just kind of have to learn by osmosis, or, you know, you have to be in the right place at the right time. You have to overhear the right conversation. Or at some point, someone's going to be like, no, look, they do this or they do that, right? You have to volunteer a lot of time on sets. And this is coming from, like, I'm seasoned, you know, I got a resume. I have, you know, these things, but it's like you're starting over.
Yeah, you got into another door and it was like, I feel like I just jumped out a window.
Yes. Or you're building your own window. The door closes, the window closes, everything really closes because there are, there's ultimatums, there are, if you don't have the information and the resources, like if you don't have the money to sustain yourself while you're doing these things, if you don't have all this information and knowing what all these things do, if you can't handle a budget, or you're not really ready for the business.
Yeah.
Even if you just want to have an under 5, you still really need to know about filmmaking.
Yeah,
Isn't that crazy?
It is. We had one of our friends who does production work in LA, Lucas Carpenter. He talked a lot about that too, about how he got thrust into that world. He had to start out, as a PA and learn these things, because on these sets, they're trusting you. When you're a producer, they're trusting you with their life, and you have to know how to budget. You have to know how to organize. You have to know how to communicate, and you have to know how to prioritize. All those things are super important. And I imagine that experience that you had is also feeding a lot into making indie film what you want it to be.
Yes. At the end of the day, this is a life's journey, right? So you have to make decisions on, I'll keep saying, on what you really want to put out in the world. So when we launched IndieFEMME, we were focused on women. Not that we have guys in our camp, but we just had so many stories of trying to navigate disgusting situations, you know what I mean? And we just wanted to tell our own story. So that's kind of how it started. It's like Me Too, but everybody has a lot of those stories, So when it felt like we were actually being heard at that time, we're like, okay, well, maybe this, and we thought that Hillary was going to be in office, right? So we thought, okay, there's this time for women that we can really tell our own stories from all different kind of backgrounds, right? So that's what we were focused on when we launched. But we had, a lot of other things planned, but as a company, that was the goal.
Yeah. Now with the programming, because not only are you getting, is it, film and media and focusing on women of color as well. Age range is also a factor. All these different things that you found out through both of your experiences that became barriers, using them to blast the door opportunities open. Talk to me about some of the ideas you have about what you want media to look like through the lens of IndieFEMME.
Well, I'll tell you this. We're weirdos in a way.
I love weirdos. Weirdos are great.
Yes, I agree. All right. So my world surrounds around Zora Neale Hurston.
Love her.
Anybody who knows me knows that everything that I stand for has something to do with Zora. All right.
Yes.
So we were going to do this little one-woman show. So I was going to write a one-woman Zora show for myself. And I did a Zora show way back, and I was like, it's got to be different than that, right? And I thought, every ancestor story takes place in a train station or, a bus station or something. No, we're like, well, how do we switch this up a bit, right? And then it got crazy. We have a Afro-futuristic concept that is been in the works for many years now. This is deep. This is Star Trek meets our ancestors. Okay.
I love it.
So imagine an app that allows you to contact your ancestors. Okay. So we created this app, this entire concept. We have this universe where our ancestors reside, because especially as Black folks, and we're serious about our ancestors, right? So we're always
100%.
talking about, we're always talking, so it's kind of
we have
cool
to keep our stories
imagine
afloat, because otherwise they get erased.
Exactly. And young people do not want to hear the dirges of our story. They don't really want to hear the deepness, and they had a great time, right? So there's a lot of heaviness, just like there is today, but they had a great time, just like we do today, right? So this is another way to tell their stories. And so it's a beautiful story, and I love it. That is one of our babies that we will bring to fruition for sure.
I love the concept of it. And when I was looking, I thought about, you talk about Afrofuturism. One of the, it got canceled, but I think of Lovecraft Country. I don't know if you watched that show, but I think about the way that they took it. I love that kind of weird. You know, bring that on
So
because
good.
it's not
Yes.
weird for real. It's just something that has always been out here. We just never really had the ability or had the opportunity to take it through our lens to make it stand out at the
It's
forefront.
true. Well, I will. When we came up with this concept, we didn't know the term Afrofuturism then. I don't know what year this was. 2019 maybe. But so we, you know, and now there are shows on TV just like this. You know, it's not a crazy concept. And
No,
so
it's not.
because so much research is been in this, like if we are at the perfect time to tell this story, I think people would enjoy it. But there's so many things because, you know, there's a lot of estates that have to say yes. So we will slowly earn their approval.
Yeah, there's a lot of trying to find a yes, because even when I look at your magazine, you, like you said, like normally when it's a story about the ancestors, it's somewhere dusty, it's a train station, it's, I mean, because, you know, the time period they were in probably was a little dusty. I mean, that's just accuracy. But no, like the settings that you put the ancestors in, penthouse, modern.
Yes.
Madam CJ Walker was.
Yes, thank you.
And it was like, oh, okay, I see what y'all are on. It's not rewriting it, but it's like they never went anywhere.
Right,
and they're living in this
their words
space
don't change.
That's outside of the plane of the current existence that we call living, but they still are.
Yes.
What advice would you give to people who are wanting to get into this type of thing themselves, like in their market, wherever they are, where they're wanting to share their knowledge and create media opportunities?
It just depends, I guess, on the industry, but there is no shortage of YouTube professors who can tell you, you know, how to get into the field of your choice. There are a lot of great ones that we watch while, you know, shaping what is required now, because everything kind of changes. I think the main thing is staying true to yourself and not being afraid to ask the questions, even if you don't know how to ask the questions. Sometimes you don't even know what you're trying to ask. You're just trying to get to the next step, you know, and you don't know what you don't know. But if you're seeking, it will come to you. That is a fact.
And I love that you are always harping on the point that it will come to you if you're in the right place at the right time, doing what you love doing and what you have a passion for. It will come to you. Timing is everything, but placement is a big part of that too.
Absolutely. You know, I would have loved for things to be different. I would have loved for all the people to have said yes. I would have loved for people to, you know, who could have placed me in certain positions. But who would I have been if they said yes?
Because you learned a lot from that no.
You learned a lot from that no. But you also don't know what your environment was going to be, what your challenges were going to be in certain moments. And are you strong enough to get out of certain situations that maybe you shouldn't be in? You know, everything is like, it happens for a reason. And I went through a lot of just being angry and bitter, like, well, they said they would do this and da-da-da. And then later it was like, oh, the gratitude. Thank you for saying no.
Thank you so much for joining me today. I had a great time talking to you. I can't believe time is up. But
Thank you so much.
I'm really appreciative of what you're doing, and I can't wait to see where it goes next.
Thank you. I appreciate you.
Many thanks again to my guest, Melanna Gray of IndieFEMME, for joining me. I thank you guys for watching. You are the best part of all of this, and I'll see you again soon for another Close Up. I'll be checking for you. Bye.